Well, the Fallout series has seen a resurgence in mainstream popularity thanks to that new show. Maybe you're new, but maybe you're coming back again. Here are 10 fun hidden things in Fallout 4 that might get you playing again. Starting off at number 10, did you know that there are special attack animations that can be triggered by pressing the power attack button twice? Well, we didn't. How it works is that you double tap the button, and if you do enough damage to kill the enemy, then it'll trigger a special takedown animation. Now, even for people who know about that, you might not know about the body slam. What's unusual about this special attack is that you can only trigger it in third-person view. So if you're playing the game in first person, then it'll never work. That's why you never saw this. Now, we had just previously assumed that all of these animations just trigger randomly in VATS, but yeah, you can actually do them on command by just pressing the power attack button twice. How you do it on a controller, we don't really know, but on PC, it's pretty easy to do. And if you never did figure it out, once you do, it does just add a little pinch of extra fun to the combat. Next, over at number 9, there's a cover system. Now, you would think this would be insanely obvious. Like, of course there's a cover system in Fallout 4. How could you miss it? But believe it or not, people have played for tens or even hundreds of hours and never really noticed this, that you automatically will aim when taking cover if you aim near the edge. That's literally all it is. Just get behind something, point at the edge, and if you're close enough, then you'll just lean just a little bit to be able to fire while still mostly remaining protected. Now, this was a common feature of many first-person shooter games back when Fallout 4 came out, but without any tutorials or reminders that it can be done, we've seen it out there. Apparently, a lot of other people just assumed that it wasn't in the game, but it is. Here, you can do it. I bet some of you wish you knew this hours ago. It's not like the most groundbreaking cover system by any means, but it definitely will help, especially if you're trying to do like a survivor run. It might make things a little bit more tolerable. Next, over at number 8, so you probably know about jetpacks. They can be constructed and attached to many different types of power armor, and they allow you to fly through the air as long as you've got the AP to support it. It's a useful tool for getting around, but did you know that there are ways to extend your jetpack jump even further? All you have to do is take some drugs, obviously. So Jet is a drug that can slow down time. It doesn't actually do anything we need to stay in the air longer. Instead, we're going to need something that looks the same and sounds almost the same, but it does something totally different. So what you really want here is this superpowered jet drug called jet fuel. This thing increases your max AP by 35 and gives you 10 AP a second for 8 minutes. So you'll be swimming in it for that amount of time. So it doesn't totally make it so you can fly literally anywhere. There are PC commands for that, but it does increase the range of your jetpack by a lot. It's enough to get almost anywhere, even if the actual mechanics don't make any sense at all. Now, we've heard of drugs that get you really high, but not literally. Sorry, that's a terrible joke. Let's move on. Over at number 7, the VATS system, of course, is by design made to make you feel like a slow-motion badass, and one of our favorite tricks is shooting a grenade while it's in the air to maximize its explosive potential. So doing this is easy. Just throw a grenade and then immediately turn on VATS. Now just watch the grenade slowly travel through the air, target it, and start shooting when it's at the exact right spot you want to make it explode. It's incredibly satisfying when done correctly, man. But you don't even have to do that. For some reason, the way Fallout 4 works, you can simply just shoot your target after throwing a grenade, and it'll explode at the exact time you fire every time. Now, in this case, the grenade needs to land somewhere, so you can't just blast it out of the air, but it's even more effective. You're not wasting your shot just hitting the grenade. You get the grenade exploding on top of the direct damage you're doing from shooting the enemy. Now, it's not something that will always work because what the game counts as landing can be a little wonky, but it's otherwise an effective and easy little trick to use if you want to maximize your damage, and chances are, most of the time, you probably do. Next over at number 6, here's an easy trick if you want some power armor of your own. Just take it from NPCs. All you have to do is pickpocket a guy in power armor and steal the fusion core from their inventory. Now, if you're successful, that'll force the pilot to eject, making them easy prey, or if they're an NPC, it'll give you an opening to nab their power armor from them. Now, it's seriously as easy as that. Like, you'll just need a decently high pickpocket skill, but taking fusion cores is simple, and you'll be swimming in all the power armor you could ever really need.
Godless freaks, die!
Especially if you do this at the Atom Cat's garage. Those guys are just asking to get robbed. So have fun, go nuts. Next over at number 5, stealing the easy way. Here's an idea inspired by Redditor named @Disastrous_Hour9673. One of the most versatile tools in Fallout 4 is the grab. It's a staple of Bethesda games, and it just lets you physically pick up objects and carry them around in the world and mess with the physics. It rarely serves any mechanical functions, but we're glad the grab is in these games because it lets us do dumb stuff like this. So in Fallout 4, they made stealing a little bit harder because grabbing is considered stealing in this game. So you can't just grab stuff in a store, take it outside, and steal it without the shopkeeper reacting. They're onto your little tricks in this game. You can't manipulate them as much, but they're not perfect. So there is a way you can get around this. All you have to do is not actually grab something, but still carry it out of a store. Now, you might ask, how do you do that? Well, with a bucket. Just grab a trash can or something similar and use it to store all your ill-gotten goods. Then carry the whole thing outside, crouch so you're considered hidden, because actually putting all this stuff in your inventory is still considered stealing. And as long as they don't have line of sight on you, then you're good. All that stuff's yours. Congratulations. It's one of those things where real world logic just goes absolutely out the window. In video game logic, it makes perfect sense. Yeah, obviously you can steal like a store blind as long as you're not technically touching anything. Makes sense to us. God, I really love video game logic, but let's move on. Next over at number 4, here's a fun little one. So, you know the little cartoon Pip-Boy guy, like the little Vault Boy you see in the stats menu, which is used to show your conditions? You're probably aware that this little guy changes his appearance depending on how damaged you are. But one thing we never notice is that if you allow yourself to be heavily irradiated, then he turns into a ghoul. Like just a little cartoon ghoul on your screen looking miserable. The only way this thing shows up is if you've got critical radiation poisoning, so you've got to have a significant portion of your health bar depleted by radiation. That's probably why so many people miss this guy, because I don't know about you, but I try to like eliminate radiation ASAP when it gets worse than, I don't know, like 25% of my health bar. Like, this is obviously a really, really small little detail, but it's the stuff like this that gives Fallout 4 so much flavor. They really did add a lot of fun little details here and there, and stuff for you to discover. I think even people who love other Fallout games more than 4 can still admit this. And this one was just a perfect example of that. Now, next over at number 3, grabbing has been previously established as useful, right? But it's not just useful for organizing your settlements or carrying stuff while you're over encumbered. There's actually this pretty cute little trick you can use to scrap stuff that's outside your settlement. It's actually incredibly simple. Just grab the loose stuff that exists outside the barrier and drag it into your territory, and now you can break it down for scrap. You can even do this with cars with the careful use of a dead body. Normally, cars are too heavy to move on their own, but if you use a corpse, then you can nudge it around and possibly get it into your settlement, where you can break it down just like anything else. For people who can't stand all the garbage on the ground right outside of their nice clean base, then this is a handy trick for beautifying your territory, and it gets you a lot of easy scrap on top of it. Now down at number 2, obviously playing on easy or very easy can make Fallout 4 a much less challenging game, but did you know that there are actually some benefits to cranking up the difficulty? It's not a lot. Like, this isn't like a Witcher situation where both your enemies and you get more lethal on harder difficulties, but if you want to farm legendary equipment, then turning up the option to very hard can be beneficial. Now, on very hard and survival, the chance of legendary enemies spawning increases to 150%. Now, combine that with the increased chances of finding legendary creatures when you level up, and post level 50, you can make it so these special enemies and their powerful rewards are appearing all the time. Now, if you want to level up fast, at least without cheating, then survival mode literally doubles the amount of experience you get normally. Every other challenge level doesn't alter EXP gains at all, but survival just straight up doubles it. So if you're willing to experience the early game challenge of that mode, then you'll get much stronger, much faster, and all this will result in a very different Fallout 4 experience. More challenge, but also just like a more powerful character, possibly cooler loot, and just a lot of weird stuff. Now finally, down at number 1, you've probably seen a chameleon deathclaw in the wild and didn't think much of it. It's just a slightly different color of brown and beige, right? You'd never know that this thing actually does something special unless you have it spawn in the exact right spots and observe when it's not trying to kill you, which is usually a pretty unlikely scenario. Now, we're just going to cheat to show this off because it is a cool effect. The chameleon deathclaw's skin actually changes to match the environment, and it'll change constantly. If you see one near a blue and red house, then the deathclaw's skin will actually turn blue and red and shift between a few different variants of that color. They could have just made these things turn invisible and call it a day, but they put a little extra work in there that most people will never notice, and that's the kind of commitment you love to see. So those are 10 little things that might get you back into Fallout 4. These are things that we've kind of just stumbled upon after replaying more recently, getting ready for the next gen update. So they might seem like small little silly things, but we had fun discovering them and we had fun talking about them. So let us know in the comments what you think, and if you have any other examples that might help, definitely hit us up. But if you like talking games with us every day, all you gotta do is click the like button. It really helps us out. And maybe subscribe if you're new, because we put out videos every single day. But as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.